Yo, I'm joining me for another episode of Prehistoric Subject Files, and today we're going to talk about Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus, mate, Spinosaurus. So, basically, Spinosaurus is a genus of Spinosaurinae megalosaurid theropod. It's found in northern Africa. It apparently lived from 112 to 97 million years ago, so that's from the Lower Albian to the Lower Cenomian period. Now, currently, the consensus is that maybe it didn't live as early as the Lower Albion, but it depends. It honestly depends. There's some studies still going on. Now, the first discoveries were made in 1912, but the first descriptions were made in 1915 by paleontologist Ernst Stromer, who found the original specimen. Now, the original specimen, unfortunately, was destroyed in World War II in Munich, and additionally, currently, there are potentially two species, one being Spinosaurus aegypticus and the other being Spinosaurus maroccanus. Now, estimation of Spinosaurus has varied over the years, with estimations from 2006 to 2008 estimating around 12.6 to 18 meters and weighing at 7.7 to 23 tons, which I think 23 tons is really far off the mark. You're looking more at like 9 tons at least. However, the 2014 new discovery actually found that the lengths of these animals actually got around 15 meters or more, and they actually had long, narrow snouts, which means they're actually more developed for fish eating, and they also were more built for semi-aquatic environments instead of being mainly terrestrial carnivores. Now, the neurospines on Spinosaurus have actually been found to be about 1.65 meters tall, so basically 165 centimeters tall, if you don't know what that is. Basically, that makes up for them being more than 10 times the diameter of the vertebrae themselves, and they may have been like hump-like structure. And compared to other organisms, such as the pelycosaurs, so basically Dimetrodon and its kin, the sail is actually quite short and quite thick for what it is proportionally, amongst like other organisms that possess basically a sail like this. Now, the skull of Spinosaurus is very weird and very unique, especially for even Spinosaurids, I believe. Basically, the skull is very long and narrow. The teeth are conical shaped with no serrations. It has up to 6 to 7 premaxillar teeth basically on each side, so each side possesses 6 to 7 teeth, with the very front ones being very large. The maxilla contains 12 teeth on each side, so basically the maxilla contains around 24 teeth. The second and third teeth of the maxilla are unusually large for what they are, and probably just a bit bigger than the large ones in the premaxilla. The nasal also possesses a crest. It's very similar to what's considered now its sister taxon, known as Irritator. In 2005, Dal Sasso actually estimated the skull being around 1.75 meters in length, so 175 centimeters in length, though he questioned the total size as he found that Spinosaurid species and genera actually vary in the ratio of skull size to total length, depending on the species, so he couldn't make an exact estimate of the total size of Spinosaurus at the time. In 2013, Andrew R. Cuff and Emily Rayfield actually showed that Spinosaurus had some skull resistance that was actually very poor compared to both one of its related species, known as Baryonyx walkeri, and also alligators. So basically, it said to the scientists at the time that Spinosaurus was not really specialized for taking on struggling prey. It was more suited for taking on fish, basically most of the time, and you can pretty much define that as basically we found Spinosaurus in a lot of marine sediments and along with a lot of marine creatures, a lot of marine fish and stuff like that. With Baryonyx, we found specimens of iguanodon found in its stomach and stuff like that. So the story of Spinosaurus actually starts in 1912 with Richard Markgraf, and he actually discovered the first remains of Spinosaurus aegypticus in the Baharia Formation. I said that wrong then for some reason. The Baharia Formation in western Egypt. Then in 1915, German paleontologist Ernst Stromer actually described it as Spinosaurus aegypticus. Then in 1934, Fragmentary remains of another Spinosaurus specimen were actually found in the Bahia Formation, and they consisted of vertebrae and hind limbs and were designated as Spinosaurus B. Strome actually considered these to be another species, but now it's actually been suggested that maybe these actually belong to either Carcharodontosaurus or Sigilmassasaurus. In 1996, a guy by the name of Dale Russell actually described a new species of Spinosaurus called Spinosaurus moroccanus, and he based it on the differentiation in the neck vertebrae of Spinosaurus moroccanus compared to Spinosaurus aegypticus. He claimed that the ratio of vertebrae centrum, so basically the body portion, was actually different to that of Spinosaurus aegypticus. In Spinosaurus aegypticus, it was a 1-to-1 ratio, while in Spinosaurus moroccanus, it was a 1-to-5 ratio. Though, however, this could be due to basically variation within Spinosaurus aegypticus, and plus what they actually found is that the vertebrae wasn't really compared with the holotype specimen. Well, it couldn't have been because the holotype specimen was destroyed. So basically, for a long time now, Spinosaurus moroccanus has been considered a junior synonym to Spinosaurus aegypticus, though like myself and a few others, they consider Spinosaurus moroccanus a different species. I consider it a different species because I've looked at pictures of the skull material and the teeth, and I do see some differentiation that would probably say, hey, this is probably a new species, this is probably a different species. Alright, so we're going to go over a couple of specimens, basically. So this one is the holotype specimen. It's known as BSP 1912 I'm saying V111 here. It's actually 819 basically, but the 8 is in the Roman digits. Basically, it's a holotype specimen that's found from the Bahia Formation, and it was described in 1915, and it consists of a right and left dentaries, Spheller from the lower jaw, measuring 75 centimeters long, a long straight piece of the left maxilla, 20 teeth, 2 cervical vertebrae, 7 dorsal vertebrae, 3 sacral vertebrae, 1 caudal vertebrae, 4 thoracic ribs, and gastralia. And the largest neural spine on this animal actually measures about 1.65 centimeters, and it's been aged at around 97 million years ago, so it was probably on the verge of the extinction of Spinosaurus, according to this. But however, on the 24th, 25th night of April, well, basically on April the 24th, 25th, the night of that time, in 1944, British bombing raids actually struck Munich, which was where the specimen was being housed, and it destroyed the specimen. It was being, I think it was being housed in the, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but the Paläontologisches Museum Munich. I probably butchered that, I'm really sorry. But basically it was destroyed. Later on, one of Stroman's sons actually donated Stroman's archives, and basically, yeah, he just donated it to, I think, the rebuilding of the museum in 1995. Smith analysed these photos of the specimen, and he concluded that in 2003 that actually Strome's illustrations of the specimen were actually incorrect. However, Oliver Ruart actually suggested the specimen was actually even a chimera and was actually composed of Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus material, though over the years this stuff has really been rejected. It's been rejected that basically it's chimera, but it has been in some retrospects accepted that maybe the illustrations are sort of incorrect. Alright, so exactly, I don't really have a specimen picture for this specimen, but it's known as NMC 50791, and it's housed in the Canadian Museum of Nature. It's a mid-cervical vertebrae, which is around 19.5 centimeters, I think, in height or whatever. It's from the Kemkem beds in Morocco, and it's representative of the holotype known as, well, basically the Spinosaurus moroccanus holotype. However, in later years, 2 other mid-cervical vertebrae have been named from the anterior as well as basically an anterior dentary fragment have been named as also Spinosaurus moroccanus features, maybe from this specimen as well. This particular specimen, the holotype, has been dated at around the Albian age, but they're not specific whether it's the lower or the upper. The next specimen we're going to talk about is known as MNHN SAM124, and it's housed in the Muséum National de Histoire naturale. Probably butchered that, I'm really sorry. But it's a snout consisting of a partial premaxilla, a maxilla, vormers, and a partial dentary. And it was described by this guy called, I'm probably going to butcher his name again, I'm really sorry, Taquet and basically Dale Russell, and they described it in 1998. Now, it was around 13.4 to 13.6 centimeters in width, and they found it in Albion rocks in Algeria, so basically it dates around the same as the holotype of Moroccanus, apparently. Now, they believe that that there's also another another premaxillar fragment, as well as 2 cervical vertebrae and a dorsal neural arch that they can also probably presume is also Spinosaurus moroccanus from what they know from this specimen and other specimens. Alright, so the next 2 specimens, I haven't really found any pictures of them, but we're going to talk about them anyways. So the next specimen is BM231, and it's been in the collection of the Office National des Mines in Tunis, and basically it was described by a man named, someone named Buffette and Ojanja. I'm really sorry, I'm bad at this. They described it in 2002. It's a partial anterior dentary that's around 11.5 centimeters in length, and it's from the early Albion period of the Cheneni formation in Tunisia. Basically, what they found with the dentary is that it has 4 what are called alveoli and 2 partial teeth within it. And the alveoli are actually basically the tooth sockets. Now, what they found and what they said is that it's extremely similar to the existing material of Spinosaurus aegypticus, which basically means this is a Spinosaurus aegypticus, basically. So it shows that the range of Spinosaurus aegypticus is wider than previously thought. The next specimen is known as UCPC-2, and is housed in the University of Chicago Paleontological Collections. And it's basically 2 narrow connected nasals with a fluted crest. It's around 18 centimeters in length, the actual specimen itself. It's from the early Cenozoic period. In rocks that are found in Morocco in the Kem beds formation. It was discovered in 1996, and it was described in 2005 by Cristiano del Sasso, basically, you know, that guy again. And he basically described it along with his colleagues in the Civic Natural History Museum in Milan, and basically they described it as basically being a Spinosaurus specimen, but I believe they've described it as a Spinosaurus aegypticus. I'm not too sure about that, but you'll have to correct me on that if you know any information about that. The next specimen is I believe is a Spinosaurus aegypticus specimen, but oh well. Basically, it's known as MSNMV4047, and it's in the Museo di Storia Naturale di Milano. I'm really sorry about that. I butchered that very badly. Basically, it was described by Sasso again, but it was described in 2005 and consists of a premaxilla, maxilla material, and a partial basically set of nasals, and it's around 98.8 centimeters in length. It was found in the Kem beds formation and possibly ranged from an age in the early Cenozoic age, basically, and I think this has got to be a Aegypticus. Yeah, I'm sure this is pretty much an Aegypticus specimen, so it could suggest that maybe Aegypticus and Moroccanus maybe evolved within each other's vicinities, or maybe one of them pushed each other out, or maybe just their geographic ranges crossed over, because I do believe that Moroccanus is an official species, basically. The next specimen up, I'm not sure if this is the 2014 specimen, but I don't know. It's categorized as FSAC-KK11888, and it's a partial subadult specimen that was described in 2014 by Ibrahim. It was the rejected neotype as of 2015, and it's from the Kem beds formation, and it consists of cervical vertebrae, dorsal vertebrae, neural spines, a complete sacrum, femora, tibia, pedal flanges, caudal vertebrae, several dorsal ribs, and a fragmentary skull, as well as ribs. And basically, it's been thought to be like basically Spinosaurus specimen, and this could be the 2014 specimen. I'm not too sure. That's why I put the picture up. But basically, but the thing is that it said it's a subadult specimen. I'm not too sure about that. But then again, I don't know. Well, basically, the story behind this specimen is that basically it's got disproportionately weird arms and legs, and what they found is that Spinosaurus may have been a quadruped, pretty much. Basically, like being able to do a quadruped stance and also bipedal stance. When I get into the more deeper subjects about the specimen and how it revolutionised how we look at Spinosaurus. Now, there has been some controversy around the specimen, and it has been confirmed it's not a chimera like a lot of people used to think it was. Now again, the next couple of specimens, I don't have pictures for them, but I thought I'd talk about these guys anyways. So we've got specimens MHNM KK374 to KK378, so basically that's like 5 isolated quadrates, basically that's what it is, and they all differ in size. They're from the Chem region of the southern east area of Morocco. And what it shows, and I read this study actually, it shows there's actually 2 spinosaurid species living in the Chem beds, basically, due to these different features of the quadrates, and that's really interesting. Now, it doesn't say, I can't remember from the study that I actually read how many of them were confirmed to be Spinosaurus aegypticus or Moroccanus, but maybe we could have maybe an overlap and maybe a proposed validation of maybe either Moroccanus or something else, maybe. Now, apart from all those areas I talked about, there's also been some potential Spinosaurus material actually found in what's known as the Turkana Grits Formation in Kenya. So maybe Spinosaurus had a wider range than what we thought. Usually, if this material is confirmed to be from Spinosaurus itself. Now we're going to go back to Spinosaurus B for a second, but basically Spinosaurus B at first was classified as Spinosaurus, but recently in 2015 there was a redescription of the specimen, and it may actually belong to what was considered and maybe still considered a synonym to Spinosaurus known as Sigilmassasaurus. So basically this dinosaur differed in certain different morphological features such as the neck vertebrae and also vertebrae, basically features found in Spinosaurus B. So maybe Sigilmassasaurus is valid, but in my opinion I think it's just individual variation within the species of maybe Spinosaurus aegypticus, because I believe that's the most common species of Spinosaurus if Moroccanus is validated. Now, Spinosaurus has been classified as a Spinosaurid. However, beyond that, in the clade of Spinosaurid, it's been placed alongside Irritator as a sister taxon, being the only 2 totally classified Spinosaurinae. And basically the reason is that morphologically Spinosaurus is much closer to Irritator than it is to maybe Baryonyx or Suchomimus, because I remember years ago a lot of people used to think Suchomimus was basically the ancestor to Spinosaurus, and I don't believe that anymore. I think that maybe some people are like, oh, maybe it is, yeah, but I don't think it is. I think maybe there's a common ancestor with Irritator somewhere down the line, because I think Irritator just got smaller due to dwarfism in its environment. Now we're going to get into the best feature of Spinosaurus, and that is the sail. So originally the sail was to be for thermoregulation purposes, as well as maybe like a radiating purpose for basically radiating out excess heat. In 1997, however, a man named Bailey actually concluded that the Spinosaurus sail would absorb heat more than it did excluding it. So he proposed that maybe it was more likely used for basically as a hump, for storing energy, for basically shielding itself from the sun, and also for insulation. Then in 2015, a man named Gimsa actually suggested that maybe Spinosaurus used it like a sail. Basically, a sailfish or a swordfish would actually use its sail for hydrodynamic purposes. So basically, the neural spines are very rectangular in shape, very rectangular-like, like in a swordfish. And he proposed that maybe, like a swordfish, it actually use its long tail to stun prey and then come in and maybe snatch it up. Now, I don't know about this, to be honest. I'd have to look into information about the flexibility of Spinosaurus' tail, but I think its primary weapons would have been its teeth and its claws for catching fish. But maybe if it was like in high tide, maybe. But I think the sail is more of a sexually dimorphic purpose. I think maybe if we find maybe a female or a male, or maybe just specimens with larger and smaller sails at certain ages, then maybe we conclude oh, look, this is for sexually dimorphic purposes, which is my belief in the matter. So Spinosaurus played a huge ecological role in its environment, pretty much. It was mostly a pescivorian predator. It may have also hunted on land, but very rarely. It could have hunted such animals as the giant coelacanthid fish known as Morsonia. Also, it could have potentially hunted Tyrannosaurus and maybe some other iguanodontines that lived around the same time, because there was a Baryonyx walkeri specimen found with iguanodon juvenile specimens, remains of the specimen in its stomach. Additionally, a pterosaur specimen was actually found with either an irritator or an Angiotorama tooth embedded in its vertebrae. Now, Spinosaurus may have actually performed a niche similar to a grizzly bear, so maybe in the salmon spawning season, maybe sort of like that kind of grizzly bear niche, so maybe it would have spent most of its time around water and basically, you know, killed a lot of fish and eaten a lot of fish, because basically that's what it was adapted for. The jaws were poorly adapted for bending and struggling prey, so basically any struggling prey, it would be a right old problem. And then in 2009, some pressure receptors were actually found on the premaxillary and the maxillary surface, so this concluded that maybe Spinosaurus was more adapted for sensing its prey because it had such a long nose and had those sensory paws. In 2010, a guy by the name of Romain Amiot, I think that's how you spell it, Amiot and colleagues actually found that oxygen isotope ratios in Spinosaurid teeth were actually much closer to those of crocodilians and turtles than they are to theropods, so basically it just suggested that Spinosaurus lived more of an aquatic lifestyle than other theropods in its environment and possibly around the world. In the 1970s, Spinosaurus occasionally was given a quadruped stance, basically all fours. In 1997, Bailey was open to the quadruped theory. Then in the 2014 study, it was confirmed that Spinosaurus would have taken a mostly quadruped stance. However, Scott Hartman actually pointed out the inaccuracies of the 2014 reconstruction specimen, and he pointed out that the legs and pelvis need to be scaled up 27%, and basically now there's a lot more people saying, oh, maybe it took both stances, maybe it could do quadruped and biped if it could. However, going back to the 2014 specimen, there has been some doubt currently and recently as to whether the Spinosaurus specimen from 2014 actually represents not Spinosaurus, but Sigilmassasaurus. Now, Spinosaurus shared its environment with my favourite dinosaur, Carcharodontosaurus saharicus, and it also shared its environment with Deltadromeus, Bahariosaurus, Paralotitan, Egyptosaurus, various crocodilians, various turtles, various fish, snakes, lizards, sharks, pterosaurs, and what they found is that the ecology in which Spinosaurus lived in was very predator heavy, so there's a lot of predators, and they found that Spinosaurus adapted to a piscivorian environment, ecological niche, due to possibly competition with other predators maybe early in its evolution. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this back-to-back of the sailbacks. Yes! I was going to put that pun in anyways. So, basically, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this double back of basically two spined awesome creatures from prehistoric times. Hopefully I should be bringing up another basically prehistoric subject files within a couple, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks time. I don't know, I'm kind of in a bad place at the moment personally, but I will get better, you know, I'll be fine. And plus I've got my exams and my mock exams to get into, so basically I might be not as frequent on YouTube as, you know, usually, but I don't know. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you later. Bye bye.